Hi guys, Beth here, aka Mediagirl94. Welcome back to the channel, and if you haven't already read the title, I'm bringing you guys my Summer 2023 manga haul. That's right, you're not getting a K-pop video today, you are getting a manga haul because everyone loves those on the internet. Now, originally in November 2021, that was my last manga haul on my main channel, msbethrobinson94, where I said I'd be moving all like my manga, anime, like nerdy content onto this second channel. And well, I kind of went off manga because I got really into like K-pop, and so I was buying like albums, and this kind of became like a K-pop channel. And I went into like town the other day and I was like, you know what, I'm going to pick up some volumes of series and get back into manga. So I've got quite a few volumes scattered around me, so I was like, instead of doing like a monthly one, I'm just going to start with like a big summer one and like throw it all at you. But yeah, all my manga and anime content is now going to be on this channel, so deal with it. It's my channel, I can kind of do what I want, and this was the original intention. I kind of just stopped, like I said, reading manga at the end of 2021, so I've got a lot of catching up to do. Yeah, before we begin, if you'd like to support me and the channel in the future, you can by clicking a like to show me some love. You can click subscribe and tap that bell to be notified when I upload on this channel. Enough rambling, let's just dive straight into my 2023 Summer Manga Haul. It feels really weird like starting with like this manga series because it became such a staple on my main channel. So I was about to say, oh, if you've watched my other manga hauls, you'll know this series, but some of you might not. But anyway, I have six. I have 6 more volumes of the vampire series, Serif of the End. I have volume 20, 21, 22, there we go, the lighting, 23, I had to do the math and I was like, yeah, 23, 24, and 25. Now, Serif of the End, it was turned into like an anime on Netflix, and I actually didn't think the anime was that bad. But, you know, I would highly recommend reading the manga. Like I said, it's vampire, it's like fantasy, like paranormal. Pretty much the premise is vampires have pretty much taken over the world and kind of like enslaved humans. And like the main characters are like kids. And like the vampires took away all the kids and kind of raised them as like being like personal blood banks. And pretty much brainwashed them into being like, the world is destroyed, there's no more humans. However, like, main character, like, he breaks out, and turns out, you know, humans didn't die, and he kind of joins, like, a military operation to kind of, like, eradicate vampires. But there are so many, like, plot twists where, like, turns out the vampires might not be the bad guys all along. There are some human characters that you go, like, ho ho ho, you've got some questionable methods. There's also friendship between, like, the guy and the blonde, because they were like human together, but like as they were like leaving the vampire world, his friend was turned into a vampire, and so for the longest time they hate one another. It is drama, friendship, a lot of death. Don't really get attached to characters, and definitely in later volumes there are certain vampire characters that you will become really attached to, and you go, okay, the vampires are actually the good guys, or are they? But yeah, if you like vampires and you like fantasy paranormal manga, check out Serif of the End. Even check out the anime. I'm not sure if it's still on Netflix, but it'll be somewhere on the internet. You know, just to like wet your like tongue or like wet your feet, I think that's the saying, before diving into this series, because like I said, this is volume 25 and I believe it is still ongoing and they haven't said when it's going to end. Moving on. I feel like I should probably go into like a series that probably like quite a few people are familiar with, and that is 7 Deadly Sins. I mean, it's got a very successful anime. The last season was very questionable when they moved studios. We do not talk about the white blood that looked like some body fluids. It's got a very successful like mobile game. I've got the mobile game. I have sunk so much money into it. And, well, this is an omnibus, and there are a lot of volumes in this series, so I'm buying the omnibuses where you get 3 volumes for the price of 1. So I have volumes 1, 2, and 3. So that's the first 9 volumes of the manga. And a lot of series are doing this now, which really annoys me. There is one series that I haven't really bought any more volumes for in this haul. It is Fire Force. I went into my local like shop where I buy my manga from, and I was so annoyed because I'm like 27 volumes in and they've decided to release them as omnibuses. Omnibuses for me are a great way. Some people don't like them, some people want to collect the individual volumes, but for example this cost, I want to say this cost 15. So £15 for like 3 volumes, where I think like the individual volumes are like maybe £9–10, so you are saving money. If you are new to a series, I would highly recommend, if they've got like an omnibus, I always say check out the first 1 to 3 volumes of a manga, because you can never really judge a manga on 1 volume, because usually the story and like the characters don't kick off until like volumes like 2 and 3. So omnibuses are perfect, especially if you buy like volumes 1 to 3 together, because then you can decide if you want to continue on with the series. 7 Deadly Sins. Pretty much in the title. 7 Deadly Sins. There's also like a princess. There's also angels. There's magic. There's drama. Again, it's fantasy. I like fantasy like books, so of course I'm going to be drawn to like the fantasy manga. There are some very interesting characters in the series, but yeah, I do highly recommend 7 Deadly Sins, and I'm so happy that this series is getting like an omnibus, because I remember walking into the shop and seeing all the individual volumes and thinking, oh, my bank account is crying. But these are like bite size. Yeah, 7 Deadly Sins, check it out. A staple of my manga hauls over on my main channel was this lovely controversial series, Goblin Slayer. I picked up volumes 10 and volume 11 of the manga. I am also collecting the light novel series. And I'm also collecting, they've done like now 2 like prequel series with like side characters, which I highly recommend. I'm only going to hold up 1 volume because it'll make my hand hurt. Yeah, Goblin Slayer, it had a very controversial like anime, which I believe the anime got cancelled because there were some precious snowflakes who got really offended at the opening episode. And it annoys me because, yes, it is an intense opening episode, and it's even more intense and a bit explicit in the volume 1 of the manga. But, like, that whole scene kind of dictated what people thought of this series, and I feel like Goblin Slayer was definitely, like, unfairly, like, cast aside. You follow the main character, Goblin Slayer, and then in the top you also have, like, Priestess, Goblin Slayer. He's a guy who kills goblins. He doesn't like them, and there is a reason he doesn't like goblins. That's explored in the story. It's also explored in like one of the prequels like series, and like he teams up with, like I said, Priestess in the top corner. She's a part of like the scene where she watched like a bunch of people get like murdered by goblins, and they kind of like pair up and they kind of like form like their own like adventuring party. It is pretty much D&D in a manga, if that's pretty much the best way I can describe it. And they kind of like form like a ragtag team, and they just kind of go about their business like killing things, killing a lot of goblins. A lot of goblins do die, so if you're a fan of goblins, you might not want to read this. But there's like friendship, there's like drama, there is relationships, and you know, there's no denying, like, because that does sell manga. But yeah, it's pretty much like D&D on steroids. That's the best way I can describe Goblin Slayer, and you can tell it's explicit because they have the plastic wrapping. If you're in a shop, kids, and you see plastic wrapping around a manga, that normally means it's explicit and it's not meant for kids. But that means it's probably going to be a very good series. A really cute series which I started by chance and I'm really happy I'm picking up because there are so many more volumes now, is Kuma Bear. I have volume 3 and volume 4 of the manga. This is one of the mangas that, you know, was a light novel that got turned into a manga. I'm not sure if it's got an anime or not. I'm pretty sure it's either got one or it might have one in the works. But yeah, it is adorable. It is your cliche human gets transported into like a fantasy setting, like set in the past. And in Yuna's case, the main character, she's the one in like this bear onesie. She's pretty much stuck in this bear onesie, and there are two sides to the bear onesie, like a black side and a white side. But it gives her powers, magic powers. Yes, if you've watched enough anime, you will know this trope like through and through. And she kind of befriends this child, and they become like best friends. She becomes like a sister to her, and the main character learns, you know, that it's not all about herself. You know, the cliche tropes. It is just very cute, and it's really interesting to see, like, you know, where the series is going. Because, like, seriously, this is adorable. If you want something cutesy, but you still want, like, that fantasy-esque, like, setting, then Kuma 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 Bear. Also, you try saying that, like, 7 times, like, one after the other, and I'm pretty sure you will fail. But yeah, Kuma 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 Bear, a great series, and I'm so happy to pick up more volumes. I'm more inclined to pick up the manga than I am the light novel. And that's like the same case with like a lot of these series that were kind of based on light novels and then they got like a manga adaptation. Because like I love reading, but sometimes light novels, they can just go over your head. But yeah, this is such a sweet series. Check it out. Talking about light novels that got like manga adaptations that then got turned into like anime, this is a series which I am shoving down my friend's throat. It is Buffery, but I've got to read the whole title. You can tell it's also a light novel adaptation when it's got like a really long name. Buffery. I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out my defense. This is the main character on the front. Again, it is like an RPG, JRPG, not really like an MO, like a World of Warcraft situation where they put like a headset on in the real world and they get transported to like a fantasy world where, you know, they create characters and they go on like adventuring parties, but then they can return to the real world. So I have volumes 1, 2, that's her best friend. 3, she's amazing, she joins the party. 4, that's the same character as like in the first one, but you know, she has other powers. And volume 5, again, they're 2 characters that join her party. The whole premise of this is that she doesn't want to get hurt. So when you start like any sort of like I can never pronounce, like the World of Warcraft games or any like fantasy games where you have to create stats for your character, she's so paranoid about getting hurt that she puts all her points into defense, so she kind of becomes this like slow moving tank. But she ends up breaking the game because she is like so like she's got so much defense that like the game creators are like paranoid and they're constantly trying to like nerf her like power. But like she continues to like find like these really good weapons, like these really good abilities that just make her really overpowered. And she creates like an adventuring party. Yeah, pretty much. It's a little bit silly. It's a little bit more like light-hearted, and it's really interesting because like initially everyone in this world like writes her off, but like one by one people, you know, come around and go, you know what, Maple, she's a pretty nice character. And it's interesting like the group that come together to join her like adventuring party, because some people you wouldn't expect, others you go, okay, it kind of makes sense. But yeah, it is just silly. If you want like a good time, check out, well, the series. Again, like I said, it was a light novel that became a manga that became like an anime. The anime is hilarious. I stopped watching, I think, after like episode 10 because they were kind of really slow releasing on the episodes. So I actually do need to go back and check if they've actually uploaded any more episodes or even like a new season, because this is just so much fun. And it's like I said, there's a lot of fantasy and like RPG-esque like manga series that I read, because that's a lot of games that I play in the real world. I play a lot of those type of games. So yeah, Buffery, I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out my defense, is definitely like a must read and a must watch. The second to last series I'm going to talk about is Those Not So Sweet Boys. I have volumes 1, volume 2, and volume 3. Now, this is like a series which I just picked up by chance in like my local Waterstones. As you can see, they're the three main leads, the male leads, and then on the back of the first volume, you've got like Midori. She is like the lead, and it is your cliche like high school, like I don't know what it is with like a trope in like anime and manga, but like if they go to like a school, they're not allowed to have like jobs to like pay the bills or help their family, and if they get caught, they're always like roped into doing something. And in this case, Midori, she works like she works a job outside of school. She gets caught by the principal, but instead of expelling her, he gives her a challenge. These three guys, they don't show up to class. They're the bad boys. It's her job to get them to come to class. And, well, at least in like the first 3 volumes, she does succeed in getting some of them to come to class. And there's also like, again, there's romance that develops between the main character and like the guys, but then it's kind of like, oh, do they hate her, do they like her, like this weird kind of like friendship and like relationship forms, because it's like the good girl trying to deal with like the bad boys, but are they really bad boys or are they just misunderstood? It is that trope. I'm obsessed with anything that's like set in a high school, and this was just a series that I liked the cover, so I picked it up, and after reading volume 1, I was like, I need volume 2, I need volume 3, and I need to keep reading this series. But yeah, I actually told one of my friends I'm reading this series, and they were like, oh, this is an amazing series. They're like, we would have recommended it to you earlier if we knew you liked this type of like story. Because like I said, I do a lot of like, I read a lot of like fantasy, like paranormal, RPG, action manga. That they were like, oh, wasn't expecting this from you. But yeah, Those Not So Sweet Boys, they might be a little bit sweet. Check out the series. I'm not sure if this is like the best series to like end this like manga haul on, because it is one of like the most like watched and like liked anime series. And well, it is a great manga series. It is Full Metal Alchemist. Ha ha ha. And like with Seven Deadly Sins, I have the omnibuses. So I picked up volumes 19 to 21 and then 22 to 24. So I am just missing the final volume in this omnibus, because there are 27 volumes in the manga, but I have them all in omnibus form, apart from like the final volume. I don't really need to explain like Full Metal Alchemist. Like if you are new to like anime or manga, you've probably got people on the internet saying you should check out like Full Metal Alchemist, like Brotherhood. You should also check out like the early 2000s, like Full Metal Alchemist, because that was kind of going before the series ended, and it was actually pretty interesting, so check out both versions of the anime. But this is always like rated like top 3 like anime series. Pretty much 2 brothers, they have a dead mum, they try to bring the mum back from the dead, but you know, actions have consequences. This is like Alphonse, he is like the younger brother who loses his body, so his older brother, like Ed, who's not on either of these covers, does some like alchemy magic and kind of puts his little brother's soul into like this metal suit of armor. Ed also loses like some limbs, but then becomes like an alchemist and like joins this society, and you know, they're trying to take down the bad guys. Ha ha ha. There is a reason this series is very well loved, and it is such a good read. The characters, like the stories, like, oh, it's intense. Like I said, there's action, there's drama, like there's relationships, there's like romance. It's such an interesting concept for a manga, and there is a reason it is highly recommended by a lot of people. And if you don't want to like buy the individual volumes, because some of the individual volumes now are kind of hard to buy because they're either out of print or they cost a lot of money to buy online. So if you go into like any sort of like bookshop that sells manga, you're more likely nowadays to find the omnibuses, which is probably going to be one of your best ways and maybe your only way to read the manga series, unless you want to fork out money on like the individual volumes. But yeah. Actually no, I take that back. This is a great way to end this summer manga haul with a little Full Metal Alchemist. So there we have it, guys and girls of the internet. That was just my summer 2023 manga haul. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something about me and my taste in manga and, well, anime in general. In the comments below, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions if you have read any of these series, or if you have like any recommendations for manga or anime I should check out. I am really not that fussed about genre when it comes to like anime or manga. I know I've said that I read a lot of like paranormal, fantasy, RPG, action, but I am really open. I love the cutesy stuff, especially anime. I will happily watch like all the cutesy anime but then read like the dark manga, so I'm really open. Comments, let's start a conversation, and while you're also down there, tell me what videos you want to see me make in the future here on the channel. But let's wrap up this video before I continue to ramble. If you'd like to support me and the channel in the future, you can by clicking a like to show me some love. You can click subscribe and tap that bell to be notified when I upload on this channel. At the end of this video, you can check out my last 2 videos or playlist depending on what mood I'm in when I'm editing this. Until next time, I'm Beth, Mediagirl94. Goodbye.